Modern psychology, as well as the Eastern culture, strongly believe that the average person goes through about 7 different stages in his or her life. Some, if you go to the whole concept of the Tai Chi or the Shinto, they believe you take the average person's age of death at about the 80s, and you divided it to a different segment, different station in a person's life. You end up by about average 6 years of age go through a different journey. Modern psychology, Western psychology, strongly believe that about every 6-7 years a person go to a different changes, different journey in his or her lives. In Judaism, we look upon the stage of development of a person and we go through changes, which is Girsa the Yankuta, the age of the very beginning development, and go to changes in a person's life. The Mishnah in the Ethics tells us certain age, for example, 18, the Chuppah, age of 30, age of 40, Bina, etc., Eitzah, counsel. You go to different stages in life and it's a different journey. So today, since we speaking about the Parshiyot Matot Masei, the 2 Torah portions, one is the Matot, Matot meaning the tribes, the different tribe, the way that they divided the land, and Masei, it's the journeys. The Rabbi tells us this is basically the end of the Torah. Yes, we call it 5 books of Moses, but actually the 5th book, the book of Deuteronomy, it's Mishnah Torah. It's in a way repetition of certain segment of the Torah. So the completion is these 2 parshiyot. The Rabbi tells us the famous beginning of chapter 3 in the Ethics. Akavya ben Malalel Omer, the great Rabbi tells us, you look upon 3 things and you not grip the scene. Da me'ayin bata, you should know where you came from. You know you should where is the roots from. Ule'an ata olech, and where you are going to. Ve'lifnei mi ata atid liten din v'cheshbon, from whom you are about to give a recounting. Me'ayin bata, the Rabbi said, is a Parshat Matot. Is the Torah portion, the first one we're about to read, which is the 12 tribes, the source, the origination of our people, the story, the history of our people that repeat itself throughout generation, and the story of the tribes. Then Mas'ei is le'an ata olech, the journeys that the person goes through his or her life. And velifnei mi ata atid liten din v'cheshbon, before whom you are about to give an account. This is the reckoning that we give before the Almighty, the Devarim, the words. This is the words that we speak right before Tisha B'Av, the Parashat Varim, the book of Deuteronomy. I would like to zoom into the Parashat Masei first. This is the last portion in that sense of the book of Bamidbar. And the famous question Rashi and Rambam in the Moreh asked, why the Torah needs to tell us the names of 42 places that the children of Israel visited while they are traveling from Egypt to the land of Israel. It's called Membet Masaot Membet. It's 42 Mem, it's 40 Bet 2, 42 Masaot. Rashi asks, למה נכתבו כל המסעות הללו? Why did the Torah tells us all these 42 names of 42 places? Furthermore, the rabbis ask, is a pasuk, is a sentence in the Torah that said, Vayichtov Moshe, and Moses inscribed all this list of places al pi Hashem, according to the word of the Lord. You mean to say that the other part of the Torah is not according to the way of the God? Ibn Ezra, the great Sephardic rabbi, lived right after the time of Rashi, 12th century. He said, this wants to emphasize that all the different journeys according to the word of God. But Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, the Nachmanides, the famous 13th century Spain and Israel rabbi, wrote a fascinating statement, and he said, and I quote, "Vehine michtav hamasaot mitzvat Hashemi." God commanded Moses to write these 42 names of places. O mizulatan inyan lo nitgala lanu sodo. This is a secret that it's not revealed yet to public. Ki al pi Hashem davak im vayichtov Moshe. Moses wrote it according to the way that God told him. לא כדברי רבי אברהם שאמר שהוא דבק עם למסעיהם. It's not like the Ibn Ezra said that that's connected to just the journeys and places. שכבר הודיעם זה על פי השם יחנו ועל פי השם ייסעו. It's not just a segment of journey from one place to another. It's a secret. It's esoteric. It's something that we are not revealed to public. Why we have these 42 name of places. Meaning what the Ramban tried to tell us, that there is a special secret here, and what I try to do today is to a little bit go deeper in revealing what exactly Nachmanides tried to tell us in this secret involved with the 42 name of places. Rashi for sure said, להודיע חסדיו של מקום, to tell us the great kindness of the Almighty, that He did not have the children of Israel travel for 40 years in vain, because the whole 38 years they traveled only to 20 different places, and he brought a famous mashal, a famous allegory from his teacher, Rashi's teacher, Rabbi Moshe Adarshan, mashal lemelech shaya bno chole. It's an example of a king that he has a son that is not well. והוליכו לרפאו למקום רחוק. He took him to a faraway place for journey. כיוון שהיו חוזרים upon return, היה אביו מונה את כל המסעות. His father put the name of those places that they traveled. אמר לו, כאן יושנו, כאן הוכרנו. This place we have this problem, that place we have this issue, in order for the son to understand that in the process of being well and being healed, it was a certain location and it's a point of remembrance. Rambam elaborated on that in the Guide for the Perplexed, more in the Vulchim, the 3rd chapter. He said, למען דעת שלא יהיה ישראל במקום יישוב אלא במדבר הגדול. It's order to tell us that the nation of Israel wasn't dwelling in a permanent location, but in the great wilderness. והתקיימו על ידי ניסיו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. They want to emphasize that the children of Israel live by a miracle of God, not in a rational way that they just get through desert. Meaning all these specific names and location of 42 places, the stories of the desert, it's the way that we live. Miracle every single day, not just the manna from heaven, but the daily miracle of the survival of our people. The Sforno elaborates on that, and he said, להודיע על זכותם של ישראל. This emphasized the 40 name of places that the children of Israel went through a different location, different places, while they trust God, be'eretz lo zruah, in the place of the unknown, yet they still trust God. The Midrash Tanchuma said, and I just give the abbreviation, he said, שיעדו כמה ניסים עשיתי מהם בכל מסע ומסע. God instructed Moses to put together those names, so they remember each and every location and numerous of miracles of their survival. Meaning that each and every stage of this journey has, which we call בחינה חיצונית, בחינה פנימית. There is a external understanding, just the name of location, but the internal understanding, which means what this shaped the character of a nation, shaped the character of people from those locations, from those experiences, to be ready for the promised land. Meaning, there is a one concept which is התרחקות במצרים, that they stay away from the old Egypt, the old way of life of Egypt. The second one, it's much deeper, is the idea that they lifted up the nation. כמה ניסים עשיתי לישראל, which means every journey, it's a miracle, it's uplifting in their spiritual world. Which means that by knowing all those name of places, it's point in the mind, registration in the mind of the people that this is who we are, where we are, from the place we came to the place we go through. So back to our point, that every person goes through certain stages, average 6-7 years. It's a point of understanding that one, in the modern psychology, they tells us that one person's stop and think, oh, I miss my childhood. I'm sure that everyone knows that the minutes a person missing some part of his upbringing, it's a point of missing. And modern psychology tells us that if you see a person, an adult, have middle-age crisis, or have all kinds of issues that all of a sudden a man or woman at the age of 60 or 50 try to behave like 15 years old, it's a point of compensation because it's nidbach ba'ishiyut, it's part of development of a character that missing because of certain reason involved with their upbringing, childhood, etc. So, in a stage of development, there is a need to go from the point of 6 years old to 12 years old, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, go to the age of 15, 18, 24. It's a development of average 6-7 years of a person, and the minutes that person develops it properly, they reach a stage that is no longer need to be there because it's a fulfillment of that part, and they can go further with those point of memories. Hopefully not traumatic memories, but a positive memory in the development of a person. So the reason that we have these 40 name of places, it's the rabbis tells us, and here we're dealing a little bit with Kabbalah, the rabbis tell us that is a Shem ben Mem Bet Otiyot. This is part of the God attributes in the word, in the attributes of 42 letters that we use in Ana Bekoach. Ana Bekoach is a very important prayer, and I think that that's the reason why the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, used the Ana Bekoach, this prayer, as an example, because in that prayer, which we have every single morning, and particularly before Lechadodi, on the Friday night services, when we reach the point of the bridge between the 6 secular days of creation, the 6 days of being busy in the secular world, to the world of spirituality, that change taking place before Lechadodi, when we recite these important words of Ana Bekoach. Ana Bekoach, that prayer, it's they have 42 words, It's the name of God. Originally, the Hebrew language, they have 22 letters in the Hebrew language. And if you look at Ana Bekoach, you see that it's divided to 6 letters that altogether it's 42, which means Ana Bekoach 2, Gdulat Yemincha 2, Kabel Rinat, Tatir Tzura 2, etc. So you have 2, 2, 2, etc. And then 3, 3, 3, 3, etc. So all this, it's the 7 segment, which means you have here, if you count the line, it's 7 lines, and they have 6 words, it's a 42. So the reason for that, according to our tradition, these words of Ana Bekoach is from the 3rd century. Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana is a Talmudic rabbi, and some say that many Kabbalah, early Kabbalah writing is by Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana, and the name of God has a lot of way of hidden the full name of God in these 42 words of Ana Bekoach. The 22 letters, for example, in Hebrew, can go in many different locations, many different directions. Like instead of Aleph, you can go to the 2nd letter, etc., and you reach the name of God. Each line has 6 words, and it's divided to 3, 3, and it's the implication to the angels in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, that said, Srafim omdim mima'al lo, they are like special entities above the chariot. Shesh knafayim le'echad, there are 6 and 6. בשתיים יחסה ידיו, ובשתיים יחסה פניו, ובשתיים יעופף. That's a 2, 2, 2. Together there are 6. So again, we are just give the abbreviation, the idea of 72 words, name of God, the full name of God. It's the attribute of chesed, of kindness in the Kabbalah. Most of the rabbis hold that chesed is midat al-gevura. It's part of the attribute of God that expressed toward, in our language, strength that come from below, go up. And the rabbis use it to express the aliyat nefesh, that the souls make some type of transition from the lowest world to the highest world. And that's the idea of the Friday night, after 6 days of being involved so much with the materialistic or secular world, a person goes the highest level before Kabbalah Shabbat, before receiving the Lecha Dodi, the time that Rabbi Shlomo El-Kavetz go to the different stage in mind, spiritual stage, and in between the transition is the 42 words of Ana Bekoach who recites. The Talmud tells us in Tractate Kiddushin 71b. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Rab. Shem ben 42 otiyot, the name of God that contained the 42 words. Ein mosrin oto ela lemi shehu tzanua ve'anav. You cannot reveal, you cannot tell people what's involved with this secret of 42 names of God, only to someone who is humble. Ve'omed b'chatzi yamav, he is in a stage of development that he passed already half of his life journey. Ve'eino koes ve'eino mishtaker, a person that hardly gets angry, meaning he controls himself in a stage of peace, and is not getting drunk. Ve'eino ma'amid al midotav, he is not obnoxious. Ve'kol hayod'o ve'azahir bo ve'amshamro betahara, whoever knows the secret of the 42 names and use it properly. Ahuv lemala ve'nechmad lemata, he is beloved above and below. Ve'imato mutelet al habriyot ve'nochel shnei olamim, ha'olam hazeh va'olam haba. He is be able to control himself, and he inherited both the world above and our world. Also the Talmud said in Tractate Avodah Zarah 17b that the great Rabbi Hanina ben Tradion the rabbi that was burned together with the Torah, that the reason, and again, it's above our understanding, the Talmud said, Hoge et Hashem ba'otiotav. He was able to pronounce the full name of God with all the secret meaning of the 42 words. And Rashi there said, Shaya dorsho ב-42 אותיות, that he know how exactly to use these 42 words of the name of God, ועושה בו מה שהוא חופש, and he used it in a fulfillment, which is a very serious issue. It's like touching fire. תיקוני הזוהר, it's one of the important book of the 16th century Kabbalah in a development. Some say that's much early, some say that it's the 2nd, 3rd century or 13th century. Anyway, they said in a tikkun, page 19, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Avo Vam, great Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, which is the 2nd century, he said what we said in the book of Psalms, also in a Hallel, Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek, open for me the gate of righteousness, Avo Vam odeka, I enter there to praise God. The word Bam, Bet and Mem, it's 42, which means Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai said, when you understand the 42, meaning the name of God, the full name of God in the 42, open for me the gate of righteousness. A person can reach in the level which called the palaces, the Heichalot, it's called Sifrut Heichalot, the ancient original literature of Kabbalah, that a stage of development, meaning it was in the Urim Betumim, in the breastplate that the high priest carried. They said that Betocheichei, inside this, it was the secret of the 42 names, written certain letters, certain name, and he was able to use these certain 42 words in the Urim Betumim, in Avnei HaChoshen, in these special stones on the breastplate of the high priest, in order to receive by the special Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, that the high priest carry, you were able to get the inspiration, the prognostication of the future. So how basically these 42 words develop? The name of 42 words begins with the very beginning of the Torah. We have the word Bereshit, start the very beginning of the Torah, at the beginning. If you count the letters, from the letters Bereshit, from the Bet of Bereshit, until the letter Tohu Vavohu, the world was in the turmoil, it's 42 letters. From Bereshit to the word Vavohu. Now, each letter we can change. I'm not going there from Aleph to Taf, from Bet to Shin. It's a lot of way to understand it. But the whole idea is that the Tikkunei Zohar explained to us in the page 17, Tikkunei Zohar, it tells us that each letter represents a different stage of creation, and therefore each letter represents a different future. Which means, for example, Aleph, it's the beginning, it's expressed, which is called the Keter, the beginning that it's a hidden, we don't know clearly. Bet is the years, the thousands of years, that it's like in our language, in the God's development of the Torah before it is given. Gimel, it's like Ima Ilah, it's like Bina Ilah, it's the different act of Chesed, kindness. And then the Chesed is the real attribute that occur to the world. I don't want to go too much. I just want to tell you, to share with you that Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana, when he composed these 42 words which we recite before the Chadodi, it's basically he create a prayer that have in the word the secret of the 42 names. And the goal is, even a person not fully understand every secret or every words that involved with this, is the idea that we use that prayer that without Hoge et Hashem ba'otiotav, without using the real name of God and violating Torah laws, yet we're saying something that approach very high level of spirituality, and that brings the soul of a person to the neshama etera, to the soul of Shabbat. The great Rabbeinu Asher, the Rosh, beginning of the tractate Yomah, and then he said it again later in the 8th chapter. You read in the Rosh Siman Yutet in the chapter 19 within chapter 8. This is also the Rosh on the Yerushalmi. He said that Rabbi Nehorai Gaon used this name, the 42 names, that the high priest used it when he entered to the Holy of Holies in Yom Kippurim. I saw in a book called Eshdat, in the 3rd chapter, he said that in order for the high priest to enter the Holy of Holies in a stage of tremendous Kedusha and tremendous sanctity, he needs to enter there in our language, is like without the body, just with the soul. So that's what it means, what the Zohar used the word, he says that the Kohen enter only with the soul without the body, which means that the minutes he subjugated himself and he used these 42 words, he expressed that God is basically control everything and is bound by God. So again, back to our subject, we say that it's a 42 journeys. The 42 journeys, meaning that the children of Israel left the land of contamination, the land of Egypt, and they went to the Eretz Israel, and each name of location, it's different aliyah, it's different stage of development in a 42 places, which is, if you go to all this name and you see that the meaning, you go to a name and the meaning of that name. Bemitka, b'charada, charada meaning the great fear, is the stages of development in the character of a nation. When we say Shema every day, we say the word v'dibarta bam, 42. You should talk these words. So if you look at the Shema, from the word ve'ahavta, you shall love your Lord your God, up to the end of Visharecha, the first paragraph, in your gates, it's exactly 42 words. And again, the rabbi says that that's the name of Gevura, that this is the name that the world created, the heaven and the earth. And the Shla tells us in the very beginning of Tractate Tamid that we studied not long ago, that this is the whole idea of the right and the left, which means that Ve'ahavta is like the right attributes of God, Yamin, and the rest is the small, which means that it's the way that the God compassion is overruled the attribute of judgment. So the idea of using these 42, it's again, it's application to stages of development, which we use every day. Another point we read, we're about to read this Shabbat, is the Parshat Matot. And in the Parshat Matot we have the name of the cities that the tribe of Levi received. As you know, the land divided to different tribes, 2.5 tribes in one side in the Jordan, another tribes, 8.5 get in the land of Israel. But it was a tribe of Levi that in a way did not get their own cities. However, they have a special location that they can dwell. And guess how many locations? For sure it's 42, which again is going to tell us that they are the people in charge of teaching others and spiritual involvement, and they are in a stage of temporarily impermanent cities. Also they have Arei Miklat, the city of refuge, that there are 6, 3 and 3, which we need to discuss, but it's basically 3 in the Jordan side, 3 in the other side. But in a way we can say that there's a comparison between those city of refuge in the reading of the Shema, that the same way as this city of refuge, if someone kills someone by mistake, you're walking on the top of the roof and the stone fell and somebody was just walking down and it's a big building and they killed that person and you did it absolutely unintentional. So the Torah said that you have a city of refuge you can run for your life. So the 6th word of the beginning of the first pasuk, Shema Yisrael, Hear Israel, until the word Echad, it's the same equivalent to the 6 cities of refuge, because if you take the 42 of the city that the Levites received and the 42 words of the first parasha of the Shema, and you match all together, it's exactly the same, which again, you can express it also in a personal level. Another stage before we go further, it's the Rosh Hashanah, the day of Judgment, the day of Remembrance. We in Rosh Hashanah have the voices of the shofar. So basically there are 30, which is the Tashrat, the 3, Tekiah Shvorim, Tekiah 3, and then we have 3 times Tashat and 3 times Tarat, Tekiah Shvorim, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. So if you put together 3 times, which each staccato is a 3, and you put together the 12, you end up 42 in each segment of 30. In other words, you have the 30, but if you divided the staccatos of the Shvarim and you add it together, it's 42. The last one is what we read 2 weeks ago when Bil'am, the evil Bil'am, he brought Par ve'ayin, he brought these different offerings. So each of the 7 altars, so if you take the 14 offerings each and every time, Bil'am appear in the Torah in the 3 different stages. It's the same idea that it's 14 3 times, altogether it's 42. And the Talmud derived from that in Tractate Sanhedrin, page 105b, that they say that Le'olam Ya'asuk Adam b'Torah u'b'mitzvot, a person should engage in the Torah and mitzvot all his life, afilu shelo lishma, even not for the sake of learning, for other reason, shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, that even he is not intent to do something for the purpose of study Torah and fulfilling mitzvot, eventually he will do it for the sake of God. How? They said שבזכר 42 קורבנות שהקריב בלק, because Balak with Bilam they brought 42 offerings, which was for sure not for good, but they did these offerings for this, at least they said for the sake of God. זכה ויצאה ממנו רות. He merited that out of this evil Balak you have that descendants of the Ruth, the Moabite, that marry Boaz and have King David. למדנו שלא לשמה, even a person did something not for the sake of good, something good turned for that. So the great Baal Shem Tov tells us, the founder of the Hasidic movement, he said the reason that the children of Israel needs to go to all these 42 places, it said it's a reflection to individuals. It's not just a story of the children of Israel when they travel in the desert. He said, Etzel kol ha-membet masaot, all these 42 locations, Etzel kol adam miyom hivaldo. It's by each and every person from the time that he was born, ad shuvo et olamo, until he returned to dust. Which means from the time that he was very beginning stage of development in his mother's womb, it's like Yetziat Mitzrayim, it's coming out of Egypt, and that's the whole idea that you see in a lot of Hasidic literature and also in Talmud, that the baby is learning by his mother womb before he was even born, and it was in a past stage of absolute serenity and tranquility, and you learn, and then it's a stages of development. It's the stage of, they call it tzimtzumim, contrition of the enlightenment, until you reach the 42 stages in life, which means here we talk about average person. We're not speaking about transmigration of souls, people who die earlier, prematurely, tikkunim, etc. We just speak about average person development. The Baal Shem Tov go further to say that Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel, the 4 words that Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel, if you take the notricon, the abbreviation of these words, Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel, it's Edom, Madai, Bavel, Yavan. It's the 4 different stages of development of the nation, the journeys. Edom, it's like the nation of Edom, it's the nation of Esau, and then Madai, Bavel, the Babylon, and Yavan is like the Greek development. So again, You see by the Baal Shem Tov, when we use the Shema Yisrael ve'ahavta, it's in our daily prayer, is the 42 names, and he add to that, and he said that also in the Kaddish, when we use the mourner prayer, the mourner's Kaddish, when we said Yishtabach, V'itpa'ar, V'itrumam, V'itnaseh, all these important statements, it's the 7 words that each word has the 6 letters, and it's again is a reflection to the 42 words in the highest name of God. And he go further to say that this come to repair something that happened in the past. I'm now dealing a little bit with Kabbalah according to the Baal Shem Tov, and he said as follows: השם הזה בא לתקן כל הקלקולים שהיה בזמן המלכים שמלכו באדום. The Torah tells us in the book of Genesis that those nations who control Edom, they create a lot of destruction after creation of the world. For example, he said the 8 kings, Melech Hadar, which means that this was a kings that create all kind of stages of destruction. The world that destroyed, and until we reach the point that, as we said at the end of Aleinu, that day that God is one and His name was one, which means that the breaking all this world of a heresy, the world of people's ego, the king's ego, and created world that all these layers around the destructions disappear. So the Orach Chaim, the great Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, that his Yortzeit we celebrate just recently, he said, הטעם שהיו ישראל חונים במקום אחד שנה ובמקום אחר י"ב שעות, the reason that the children of Israel stayed in one place 1 year and another place for 12 hours, שהוא כפי מה שצריך לברור הניצוצות שישנם במקום ההוא, in order to clean up those sparks that was unclear in that specific location, ובררו ברור עצום, in order to clean that sparks of badness, of wrongdoing in that location, they need to visit that spot. And they said, we derive from that the whole idea that in the person's life you're thinking, why should I spend my time in a certain place? A person sometimes finds himself in a place that he or she never anticipated to be there. I am now in Annapolis, Maryland. You ask yourself why an Israeli, you know, that my entire family is in Israel, what I'm doing here. So if you follow this teaching of the Orach Chaim and the Baal Shem Tov, it's basically that the person go by what we said in the book of Psalms 37, מהשם מצעדי גבר קוננו ודרכו יחפץ. That because God is planning this journey according to what God wants, meaning that God bring a person to a certain places, to a certain location for a certain reason, in order to complete his spiritual journey, his development of tikkun, for himself or for others or both, for certain reasons. It's like King Solomon said in the book of Proverbs 4, he said, Reshit chokhmah knech chokhmah u'chol kinyanecha kneh bina, which means the first stage of understanding is to know that sometimes you are in the stage of development in different journeys without understanding. And that's exactly what Rabbeinu Bachye said in the Parsha. He said that the reason of these 42 journeys, it's because that's a reflection of a person's life, that you go from wilderness to a place of development, and you don't always understand why is that, what's the purpose, why you go from the stage of something that you are very, very content and happy and comfortable to places that you don't know why. And the Rambam tells us in the Guide for the Perplexed that all those people who deny the past, not just denying Holocaust, but denying past of journey that the Jewish people goes, that's a point of remembrance that they know the reason that they are in a certain location, it's because they knew that it's part of their stages of development. So what we understand so far from this teaching of the Baal Shem Tov and others, it's that it's a purpose for each stage of development. The first is the idea that Rabbeinu Avraham Saba said in the book called Sloramor, he said it was 8 years after the Spanish Inquisition, and he said, "Le'ashrishenu shoresh u'bitachon gadol b'geula atida." This is, and remember, this was written so many years just at the time of the Spanish Inquisition, 1492. He said that this is to root in our heart a great belief in the future prophecy, that all these tragedies that we go through as a community and individual, בצרות העוברות עלינו לחזק ידיים רפות, to strengthen our hearts, that even we as Jews go to tremendous amount of different journeys and we don't see the light at the end of the tunnels. This is a reflection of the 42 journeys that the children of Israel went when they left Egypt, and it's because it wants to strengthen us that there is a future for us. They want to remind us that all these name of places, Harada, for example, place of great fear, Mitka, the place that the God sweetened their life, it's because of a reason. It's like Rabbi Shimshon Me'ostropal tells us, he was one of the great Kabbalistic, that each words of the 42 reflect in two stages. One is a development of a person, and one is as a nation. They said that that's a little bit Kabbalah, but the rabbis tells us, the great Maggid of Kuznets said that when a person's in a time of crisis, in a time that he or she doesn't know how to get out of a problem, they should read this Ana Bekoach with a great kavanah, so it brings a person hopefully healing and get out of that. It's like a protection, some type of protection. So again, the reason that we have these names of Masei, of a journey, is to tell us that it's not just place that they receive the Torah, it's just to remind them. For example, Kivrot HaTava, the place that they want meat. So God provided meat. Chatzeirot, it was the Korach and his people. Ritma is the place that was despised. Ritma, it's because they speak Lashon Hara. One who speak evil gossip is Gachalei Retamim, is the way that he was treated. All these places wants to tell us that is a reason. I would like to conclude with the idea that Aaron, they say that his day of death was the Rosh Chodesh Av, this Friday, and that's the only place that if you read in all different midrashim, there are endless sources, unlike any others, dealing with Aaron's death, and they use the word Beshalom uVemishor Alachiti, that Aaron is a reflection of someone who accepts God's inscrutable will and judgment, even the time that he was punished in Mei Meriva, the time that he lost his sons, in time that he goes through all these tremendous crises, because that's a reflection of leadership, that all this journey that Aaron went through as a leader, the same journeys that the nation of Israel go, Edom, Adai, Bavel, Yavan, all these different locations, that's part of the development. But what we learn from Aaron is that that's part of our leadership, that Aaron the day of Rosh Chodesh Av, the beginning of month of Av, and we say that when the month of Av begins, we reduce happiness, because beginning of Av is the reflection of the destruction of Beit HaMikdash, both Batei Mikdash. But it started originally with the death of Aaron, was the high priest, that he was a man of peace, love peace, and pursue peace. And they said that the second Beit HaMikdash destroyed because of selfless hatred. So that's the idea, that the 42 journeys that Aaron passed is part of the destruction of Beit HaMikdash. And our prayer, the same way as all these Sefirot, 6 times 7s, that it's all together the 42 names, and we say that we are repairing those in each Sefirah of the 7 inside, it is all kind of repair. That's the idea of Aaron, that bring so much happiness and peace between people. And that's the goal of the 42 names, that it's a signal of tikkun, repair, that each and every one needs. And as we said, that it is the time also of Av, that we believe that the future Mashiach will come, and we speedily merit to see not only the stage of the Messianic era, but see the building of the Beit HaMikdash speedily soon in our days. Amen.